criminals, only 5 are illegal.
Your press release
I don't care what
different.
no, it says suppress crime. You see it?
It says that town officials take tensions to escalate between illegal aliens and town residents. That isn't
Yes,
true.
it is.
That isn't
Because
true.
3 of the very serious crimes
Town
here.
officials did not say that, Mr. Arpaio.
I forget the press release.
This is what you gave to us.
Well, that's all. That doesn't matter. Action is what speaks. Now, if you said that you don't want us back here tomorrow, is that what you said? Well, we will be back here tomorrow, full force.
I figured you would.
One more thing. If you don't like the way I operate, you go get your own police department. You got 90 days to cancel your contract. 90 days. You want to cancel it? Feel free to do it.
We'll look into that.
In the Maricopa County town of El Mirage, the reporters got a lesson in what a community might learn when it did end its contract with the sheriff's office. El Mirage used to rely on Arpaio for law enforcement, paying over $1 million a year for the service. When the town started its own police force in 2007, town authorities requested the El Mirage crime records from the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office.
You could go there and see what the sheriff's department did before the police showed up and what happened after the El Mirage Police Department showed up.
The reporters went through boxes of arrest reports.
And one thing they kept coming back to us as we were going through these arrest reports were all these rapes. And Ryan and I sat across a table from each other looking at all these police reports, and I said, Ryan, are you looking at the same thing I am?
The Tribune would confirm and report that in El Mirage, Arpaio's force did little or no investigation on at least 30 violent crime cases, including a dozen reported sexual assaults during 2006 and 2007.
In many instances, El Mirage Police Department tried investigating these crimes 18 months later. They couldn't find the victims. They couldn't find the suspects. The Sheriff's Department let them drop.
Meanwhile, the paper would say, just a few miles from the town, 15 detectives were doing little else but scouring roadways for cars filled with people who'd entered the United States without permission. There were more examples suggesting that the sheriff's immigration work might be affecting overall law enforcement work. The East Valley Tribune's study of overtime payments to officers showed that large-scale immigration enforcement contributed to the sheriff's $1.3 million budget deficit in 2007. The paper also examined emergency response times. On the night of March 18, 2008, 2 gunmen robbed Betty Mar's grocery store in Guadalupe. They brandished weapons and demanded money from the young woman working the night shift.
One of the employees hit the silent alarm button, which should trigger a response from the sheriff's office immediately, which is, from 300 yards away. They normally would arrive within 2-3 minutes.
A sheriff's station was not far down the street. The robbers got away. The sheriff's office told the paper that a patrol car reached the scene 17 minutes after the alarm was triggered. The store's clerk said it took 45 minutes.
There for a while I was thinking, do I need to hire a security guard? What do I need to do? Because, we kind of feel helpless around here.
Was the store owner's complaint an aberration? Once again, the reporters crunched numbers they had obtained directly from the sheriff's office through public records requests, not just in Guadalupe, but throughout Maricopa County.
This line represents the beginning of immigration enforcement by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office. As the Sheriff's Office transferred resources from one patrol district to another and into human smuggling, response times in a lot of districts just seem to go haywire.
National standards are 5 minutes. A lot of law enforcement agencies try and get there in 4 minutes or less. And if you're a victim and you're in a house and someone's robbing you and has a gun in your face, you're thinking 4 minutes is a long time. After they started their push on illegal immigration, the response times went way up. Some instances up to 15 minutes.
The sheriff's office told the East Valley Tribune that increased focus on immigration enforcement was not to blame for increased response times. In July of 2008, the Tribune published its findings in a series called Reasonable Doubt. The reaction was immediate. A few praised the paper.
Citizen, I just want to call and applaud you for the articles you did last week.
Joe Arpaio is making Arizona into a police state.
But most praised Sheriff Joe.
I wish this paper would just leave him alone, let him do what he's supposed to. He's the only one that is.
Since Sheriff Joe started his illegal sweeps, people like me are getting their jobs back.
It's just kind of sad to think that the only one that's really doing any job around here is Sheriff Joe, is actually doing what the majority of the people want, and yet your paper is just tearing them apart every day. We just need more of Sheriff Joe.
I get tons of letters, I got stacks up today. Everything is positive. I got one bad one today.
I, as president, approve that Bishop...
In July 2008, Hector Iturralde's group, Somos America, joined others in a class action lawsuit accusing the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office of racial profiling. The case is in Arizona District Court. In September, the East Valley Tribune reported that 3 federal agencies, ICE, the Government Accountability Office, and the FBI, were examining the Sheriff's Department's immigration enforcement practices. As for Joe Arpaio himself, in November 2008, he was up for re-election to a 5th term.
Good morning, sir. I want to know, how did the results of this election speak to you?
It's another victory. I'm going to continue to fight for the people, and for those critics out there, I'm going to make this promise right now. This is not my last campaign.
Okay, we're rolling.
That wasn't his last television appearance either. In fact, in early 2009, Sheriff Joe debuted in his own cable TV reality show.
They take these fugitives off the streets.
Smile! You're under arrest.
You can be sure Sheriff Arpaio has some strong thoughts on these issues. The sheriff spoke with now senior correspondent Maria Hinojosa earlier this week.
Sheriff, can you understand when critics say, we may appreciate what the sheriff does in terms of undocumented immigrants, but we really wish that he'd be focusing on tracking down the burglars and the rapists?
We arrest a lot of rapists. We just arrested 2 murderers in the past couple of days. Every day we are arresting rapists, murderers. And by the way, during the course of our crime suppression, we did grab 3 people that raped, illegals that raped young girls. So we are successful in our law enforcement activities.
It has been discovered by the East Valley Tribune that your response rates to crimes, that you have wanted your response, you have said that your response rate goal is 5 minutes. It's now up to 11 minutes.
No, it is not. We have improved that. This is a year and a half ago. You're getting all your information from the New York Times editorial, from a newspaper.
Well, this is the East Valley Tribune.
I don't care what the East Valley newspaper says.
Did the East Valley newspaper do a Freedom of Information Act request on your file so that they could
I'm sure they did, and we responded.
So I want you to just very specifically answer to that question. They found that in the period of time of last year, your goal for response was 5 minutes. In reality, if you're saying it was a year ago, it was 11 minutes.
It depends how you record it. Let me say this. What people have to understand, we got 9,200 square miles in this county. We have 1 deputy patrolling 200 square miles. You can't respond in 5 minutes when you get a call that's 100 miles away. It takes a little time.
But you had problems with your response time. It was not where you wanted it to be.
Well, nothing is ever perfect in law enforcement.
When you were in charge of the town of El Mirage in 2006 and 2007, there were 30 violent crime cases, including 12 rapes and sexual assaults, and they went uninvestigated?
Well, you know, that's another issue. We were not in charge per se. We went in there to help reorganize that police department. They still had their own police, and we had ours. It was a very difficult type of environment to have 2 law enforcement agencies in the same place. We're looking at that. We're looking at what occurred during the time we were there, whether it was a breakdown in our operation or there. So that's something we're looking at.
So you admit that there may have been a problem with what was happening with the Sheriff's Department?
We're looking into it, yes.
I have another statistic that I'd like you to look at and respond to. This one's saying that the homicide percentage rate